All right, episode 30. Well, I'm going to keep it 100 with you, but episode 28, 29, YouTube tells me it's processing. Even though Spotify downloaded it, and then it said like it was corrupted. So, I don't know. I'll probably re upload those or see if it processes. The last thing I want to do is like have two duplicate videos, and then if it duplicates, whatever. Which leads me to my talk. I wanted to call this the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Religious connotations aside, I want you to understand that steps versus a stage. Why is that important? Everyone wants the stage, and no one respects the steps. It is the steps that get you to the stage. And that verse teaches us emphatically that process is important. There's a lot of processes that we respect. If you want to have a baby, there are some things you gotta do. You don't just beep bop your way out of those processes, and not unless you ain't got no sense. There are some things that you respect. You want to put gas in your car? You want to drive this car? See what I'm saying? There's some things that you can't bebop around. Can you make it more fuel efficient? Sure. Can you get this vehicle with a bigger tank? Sure. But ultimately, bottom line, at some point, you're going to have to do the fundamental thing, which is getting gas. Process: 2 eggs, flour, milk, elbow grease, throw it in an oven, timing, etc. Process. There's some things you can't instant gratify your way. Oh, yeah, if you want hookups, if you want momentary moments, oh my goodness. You just want moments of awesomeness, but not long lasting success. Yeah, sure. Shortcut to shortcut. It's funny, we already have shortcuts. We already have proven systems and models that if you were to do the homework on, it works. And I don't mean to be confusing. Why do I call it steps of good man? The steps indicate that we have a process. I want to encourage you that just because things don't work out, just because things don't go as you intended, does not mean you have failed. Now, I'm sure we have goals and aspirations. We don't want to go off the path. But for example, those 2 videos I made, right? I could have been upset. I was like, oh my goodness, I just wasted my time. But at the same time, you know what? Not to be apathetical, but it is what it is. The risk for greatness is some moments you're gonna fall flat on your face. Napoleon Hill says it best in one of his books, Think and Grow Rich. There's a chapter in there, and it literally is titled Failure. And he says, you want to know the secret to failure? Do nothing and be nothing. If you don't want to fail, just that's the only solution. The risk for effort, the risk for trying is failure. In fact, now we're going so far to say if you don't fail, I would suggest you didn't do anything. It's a way to learn. There's a game I would suggest you look into. It's called Dark Souls. I have played all 3 of those games. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm a gamer. And what interests me about that game was how the only way to beat it is you have to die. You have to lose over and over and over again. But in the process of losing, you gain understand, or should I say, in the process of failure, you gain information, you learn, and you grow, and you basically beat the boss. And then you fight another boss, and rinse and repeat. The challenge increases, the new algorithm and new patterns, etc. You have to pick up on that. I love it because it really teaches your brain that really the human spirit can prevail against any boss, except some bosses where you just gotta get some help. But I digress. Well, actually, that's a good point. Maybe there's some bosses you can't beat in life, right? What do you have to do? Well, it's a multiplayer game. You can summon someone to help you. Very, very interesting parallel to life. Now, with that, I say all this to make this point. The steps of a good man. Notice in that phrase it says the steps of a good man. It does not mean that the steps make him good. In fact, it suggests to us that the people who go on this path of self development, of bettering themselves, of making the world a better place. Oh, by the way, if you want to make a difference, just be the best version of yourself. By making yourself the best version of yourself, you've already made the world a better place or made a difference. By having a positive mental attitude, smiling, encouraging, helping people, strangers even, that ripple effect. People remember that because a lot of people don't do that. It's kind of sad. It's true, but I hate to speak that, but here we are. Because we have this mindset that, well, until blank happens to me, then, there it is, then I'll do my part. How about you do your part and then it'll come? We got it backwards, folks. Why? I blame the human ego and pride, arrogance, right? Where the rules apply to everyone, but the rules apply to everyone except me. That's a good lesson, Andre, but that applies to everyone but me. That's what pride is. That's why it comes before the fall. Because pride negates process. I could put 2 eggs and honor the recipe of a good life, a good marriage, a good career, but I'm gonna not do that. And if I succeed and scrape by just barely, well, I prove my point. I'm better than the average bear. Smarter than the average bear. Don't sue me. I get sued for saying that'd be wild. YouTube says this video is corrupted again. I was like, man, that's wild. Either the title was messed up or I'm thinking to myself, like, I uploaded 20 plus videos. Like, now they telling me it ain't working. That's quite the Darwin effect, or kind of hard to science your way around that. I guess I did change one of the effects to get rid of the white noise. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. I'm going to test if this goes through this time. But science aside, this is essentially my point. I had a little setback. Nothing crazy. So, you're going to have inconveniences along the way. Also, the verse doesn't just end there. It also says, though he may stumble and fall, the Lord shall pick him up again, and he delights in his way. Which indicates to me, in spite of your failures and your mistakes and shortcomings, he's still glad you're going on the path. Keep trying. Guess I could leave you with this final note that the path of a Christian, of a good man, of a good life, if that's what you want to call it, the life that you strive for, you dream of and aspire. I guess what I'm trying to encourage you with is that the purpose and the goal is not so much that you never fall, that you don't make mistakes, that you don't mess up. Quite honestly, the real message is that you still continue to push forward in spite of those mess ups, in spite of the hurts and the failures. That's what people want. People ultimately want hope. And people are looking for that now more than ever. And your story, your life, is enough to convince someone that their lives are worth keeping pushing forward on. Don't die on the steps. It's just a step. You will trip. You may slip, just don't slide. So I'll say that one last time so you get it. Yeah, let's say you're a Christian. I'll use that. You ever notice when someone says, "Oh, I'm a Christian." Oh, well, if you're a Christian, why do you do blank blank blank? Not so much like you're a hypocrite, but like there's a difference between being saved and sanctified, right? You're in the process of being purified, and I've been sanctified for many years. Well, sanctification doesn't end, folks. For example, let me give you some illustration here. When Moses delivered the children of Israel out of slavery, right? In a moment, as it says in the good book, that they went in as slaves, the Red Sea moment, split the Red Sea. They came out as sons. It was like a form of baptism. Now they're citizens. But they still had some dysfunctions. Though they had left Egypt, their past trauma, they have left the place of their pain, but the pain did not leave them. And it took 40 years to get that out of them. Because they don't know who they were. And you can prove it because when they got out to the desert, free from their oppressors, and God said, oh, you all should make a statue of worship or something to, appreciate me, whatever. And they built a golden calf, which was an Egyptian god. So it's like their understanding of their current god was the thing they experienced before. And it was like, well, that goes to show you can leave the place. But the question is, can you get the place out of you? It's a different game. Physically and mentally, spiritually. Something to think about. Now, I say that to make this point. The path of a believer, sanctification, as I was saying. Being a Christian or a believer, and people say, oh, if you're a Christian, why aren't you perfect? You ever notice that? Like, it's like, what? So basically, the benefit of being a Christian is you get put on a higher standard. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, that's nice. Meanwhile, Copernicus over here, who's questioning your... It's ironic because it's like the audacity of that question. That's kind of funny. Like, just because you say you believe in God, now you... I mean, it's true. You are put on a higher standard, but it's just kind of funny to me how, like, they can put a standard on you, but don't put any standards on themselves. It's like... So the reason why you don't believe is because you want to go down a path of debauchery and moral degradation, or continue down your own, ideologies that is wrong. I digress. I just think it's interesting how they have a concept of a moral ethos and they only apply it to others and not themselves. But I digress. The point is, that's a tangent, but it's interesting how we hold other people more accountable than we can hold ourselves. Amen. That's called what's it called? A red herring? Oh, look at that guy over there. He's crazy. Look at him, not me. Sanctification. So you're a Christian, you're a believer, or you're on the path of greatness, what that is, right? The goal is not so much that you don't make mistakes or you fail. The true measure of greatness is that you continue the path regardless of your failures. That's the secret. In fact, I'd be shocked if you tell me a story of somebody who's like, oh, I just, I had these aspirations and I just did it, and bless God, it just worked. No failures, no issues, no setbacks. That's the stuff we love to hear, though. It's strange. We always want to make a difference. We always want to have a great story, and yet we want the path of least resistance. Hey, I'm not saying I want pain and suffering and destruction, but it's interesting how we have the most respect for people who choose to keep moving forward regardless. Also, if you watch Lord of the Rings, the second movie, I forgot what it was. It wasn't Return of the King. But it was the one where Sam, there's a video on YouTube, I'm sure you can look it up, but Sam is basically, he's a side character. I guess he's like the most important because he helps the main character, Frodo. And he tells him, like, yo, dude, because Frodo's like having a mental breakdown. He's like, man, I can't be doing this. This is ridiculous. We're about to, we are going to die on this journey. And he's just done. The ring's corrupting him. Dragons and wraiths and all hell's breaking loose. And he's like, I can't do this, Sam. I'm cooked. And Sam says, look, dude, it's cool. But you know what? The greatest stories in life are not about people who everything just went smooth. It's the people who just kept on going regardless. I ain't doing this scene justice, but you get the idea, right? He's trying to suggest that the stories that inspire us and impact us the most are when people refuse to break when they should have, by all rights. I've seen people give up from less foolishness, let alone the stuff they're going through. If anybody got a right to give up and walk away. And I'll be honest with you. I've had failures. Businesses that didn't work. A business. I guess here's this one. Here we go again. I'll probably get into that in a later later down the line, but we have evidence on both sides of our failures and successes. I'll do another talk on negativity, but in any event, alrighty, I'll let you go now. Well, hopefully that helps. And I will talk to you later. Stay blessed.